Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Shemel Shah, double honors to Pastor GMS. This is Noah Allah coming at you in the video. In this video, I want to focus on the book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. Alright. Now this topic, I can go a little deeper into it, but I'm just going to touch on the surface due to the interest of time. I'm trying to make this video within about 10-12 minutes. So let's get right to it. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. Ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house. Now, look at the word. Okay, we don't really have much here. Lively stones is just one word, but let's see here.
Strong's G 2198. Zao.
Zao, that's for lively. To live, breathe, be among living, not lifeless, not dead. Metaphorically, to be full in vigor. So, we are lively stones. So we aren't actual physical stones or inanimate objects. We are lively stones. We are part of the spiritual house of Yahweh Shemel Shah, and we are lively. We are active. There's spirit within us. We are of this truth, of this work, of this ministry, because we are lively. We have the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shah within us, unlike a physical stone which is lifeless. Okay? Does it give us anything for stones? Nah.
Strong's G 3037. Lithos.
Lithos. This is a stone, a small stone, a broken stones, metaphorical of Yahweh Shah. So we are lively stones of Yahweh Shah. As you know, Yahweh Shah is the chief cornerstone. He also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house. Look at the word built up.
Strong's G 3618. Akadameo.
Akadameo. To build a house, erect a building, to build, jump down, it says to promote growth in Christian wisdom, which you know the word Christian means anointed ones. Affection, grace, virtue, holiness, blessedness. So we are lively stones built up, or we are of wisdom, affection, grace, virtue, holiness, blessedness. That's about spiritual growth. So this shows that this is a spiritual thing. That's what we're built up in. We are lively stones built up in what? The growth of wisdom, affection, grace, virtue, holiness, blessedness. Okay? To grow in wisdom and piety, which piety is righteousness. So it says, yea, also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahweh Shah. Now we're a holy priesthood. Okay? Because we know that when Yahweh Shah died, the veil of the temple, when Yahweh Shah died on the cross, the veil of the temple rent, which meant that the priesthood was open up to all of the tribes, not just to the tribe of Levi. So we are a holy priesthood, but we're holy priesthood offering the spiritual sacrifices, not as the priesthood did prior to Yahweh Shah, which is offering up sacrifices of the blood of goats and rams and so forth. Because Yahweh Shah died on the cross, he was that ultimate sacrifice. Alright? That last sacrifice. So we no longer have to offer up the blood of animals because Yahweh Shah's blood is more precious. You can read about that in Hebrews 9th chapter. I'm not going to get into that, but you read about Hebrews 9 and 15, but in Hebrews 9th chapter you can read into that. But it says we are lively stones offering up spiritual sacrifices. What does that mean? Let's get to Hebrews 13 and 15. As you can see right here, it says God pleases sacrifices. By him therefore let us offer the sacrifice of praise to the Most High continually. That is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. So that's an example of us giving up spiritual sacrifices, praising the Most High's name. And how do we do that? By doing the work, by walking in the fruits of the Spirit. But to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices the Most High is well pleased. So see, so these are examples of these spiritual sacrifices that we ought to give. All right. Jeremiah 13:11. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, the voice of the bride, the voice of them that shall say, praise Yahweh Shemel Shah of hosts. For Yahweh Shemel Shah is good, for his mercy endureth forever. And of them that shall bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahweh Shemel Shah, for I will cause to return the captivity of the land as of the first day of the Lord. And the point that I wanted to get to is when it said, shall bring the sacrifice of praise. So that goes back to what I just read prior. So giving praise to Yahweh Shemel Shah and giving thanks is an example of spiritual sacrifices. Though there's many more examples. This is the book of Ephesians, the 5th chapter. I'm going to start from verse 1, but the point is in verse 2. Ephesians 5:1. Be therefore followers of Yahweh Shem Yahushua as dear children, and walk in love as Yahushua also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering of it and a sacrifice to the Most High for a sweet smelling savor. So when Yahushua offered himself up, that was a sacrifice into the Most High as a sweet smelling savor. Like how an animal will be sacrificed, a burnt offering, and it'll be a sweet smelling savor to the Most High. Well, that's how Yahushua's sacrifice was when he died on the cross. And it says he gave himself as an offering. What does that represent? This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 23. Who, when he was reviled not again. It's got that word reviled. It's talking about Yahushua, of course.
Strong's G 3058. Loidareo.
Loidareo. To reproach, rail at, revile, heap abuse upon.
Strong's G 486. Antiloidareo.
Antiloidareo. Same thing, to revile in turn, to retort, railing. So the word revile, let's go back to that. That word revile is to reproach, rail at, revile, heap abuse upon. And you got that word, look at the word reproach. Reproach means to express disapproval or criticism, either by blaming someone for a fault or by showing disappointment. So when Yahushua was reviled, he reviled not again. Why? When he suffered, he threatened not. He committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. So when Yahushua was on that cross, when Yahushua was being scourged, whipped, when he was on that cross, he didn't revile. He took those stripes. When he suffered, he didn't threaten. Why? It says, but committed himself to him that judges righteously. Who judges righteously? The Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. He judged righteously. So he committed all things to his Father. He knew that the Most High was in power. The Most High ultimately was the one that was in control. And he left it all in the Father's hands. Let me get two scriptures on that. This is Isaiah 53:7. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. So when Yahushua was going through all of that, he didn't even open his mouth. Like a sheep that's before his shearers, or even a sheep brought before the slaughter. A sheep is known to be a humble animal, a non-threatening animal. So when the sheep is before his shearers, having his hair shaved, he doesn't open his mouth. Even when the sheep is about to be slaughtered. So that's what Yahushua represented. And what do sheep represent? They represent humility. So that's another spiritual sacrifice. That goes back to what I read in Ephesians, what we read in Ephesians, the 5th chapter, the 2nd verse, when it said he offered himself up as a sweet smelling savor to the Most High. He offered himself up as a sweet smelling savor before the Most High. All right. Now this is Acts 8:32. It says, this is when Philip had encountered the Ethiopian eunuch. He was actually reading that scripture we just read. It says the place of the scripture, I'll stop in verse 30. And Philip ran thither to him and heard him read the prophet Isaiah or Isaiah and said, understandest thou what thou readest? And he said, how can I accept some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. The place of the scripture which he read was this: he was led as a sheep to the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearers, so opening not his mouth. So Yahushua reviled not again. He was humble. He stayed in that state of humility, and he committed all things to him that is righteous, which is the Most High. So Yahushua maintained not just humility, but also faith. Those are also examples of spiritual sacrifices. The examples of spiritual sacrifices are the spiritual things that we do that please the Most High. Love, peace, brotherly kindness, faith, prayer, diligence. These are all examples of spiritual sacrifices that we are to give to please the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua. And the reason why I wanted to go to Acts was to show you that even during the time of in the New Testament, it's still standing true. He was reading what was in the Old Testament. And even in the New Testament, it was fulfilled. Even the New Testament is still applied, you know, because that's when the prophecy was fulfilled. All right. So with that, I'm gonna close. I'm gonna say, "Oh, praise Yahweh, Shemel Shah." That belongs to the Apostle GMS. I hope you brother, something. Shalom.